Right, how many spare bolts we got left? Quite a few. That's where I should watch my own videos back. Well, I did it. I couldn't face it any longer. I had to have a go at knocking out those dents. It was quite severe. Stick around and I'll show you what I ended up doing. Right, the time has come to have a look at the truck in a bit more detail. And well, what turned out being a little bit of a fiddling around on a Saturday afternoon has turned into this. So the parts are coming off pretty quick. This part here, the sort of grille, I think we can salvage. It's got a few cracks, but I think we can glue that up fine. We've got the new headlamp unit. The old one has come out in pieces. Believe it or not, all the bulbs were working, so saved ourselves a couple of quid. The main question is, what's the damage? Well, it's a fair old shunt that it's had, but it looks like we could pull it back. So this is how it should look. This is relatively vertical. This is a sort of straight 90 into this radiator bar. And over here, basically what's happened is this whole section here has just gone in. So here's the plastic. This would sit over here. The actual structure, the metal bit's in here. So where you can see the end of it here, it's kind of curved up and it's just creased here. So everything is just being pushed back. So I'm kind of thinking just everything can bend back. Nothing is broken, nothing is kind of ripped off. All the pipe, the nice thing is everything is flexible. So we should be okay. So if we can pull it back, it could be that these bits will pull forward again. The wing will pull forward again and tie in with the new headlight unit. And more importantly, where this has shunted back, we're only about 3 mil compared to the other side, but it's gone back enough so that this door no longer opens. A lot of people in the comments section last time suggesting we tie it to a wall or a gate post and then reverse, or pull it out with a tractor. This is the trouble. It's a bit like restoring a slate roof. They're absolutely sound, but when you go to take things off, you damage some, so you need to allow for bits. Hopefully we're not going to have to buy many bits. Fog lights just come off, but like a lot of you said, we can always get a couple of extra lights to put up on a roof bar. Anyway, we are officially down to the bones of it now. And this is actually what we need to work out on the other side. This is how it should be. And this is on the other side. I would imagine it's symmetrical, so we can start measuring this point here roughly. And that's what distance we need to pull it back out. Right, well, I've just about run out of time, but what we've got, I'll put the headlight in just to kind of see how things are matching up. I've managed to bend this wing out a little bit, so that's going to fit well. This has got to go back a little bit anyway, but remember this has got to come forward, so I think it's definitely worth having this now because we can align things to it. And also, I'm glad that things are symmetrical. One thing I've noticed though is this is not only just in, it's up as well. Right, another spare hour, another hour of bending. Believe it or not, timber seems to be quite handy. It's not scratching or doing anything, but to put it in and just lever bits out. We basically want to get this flat again to match the other side, which is easy enough. So we're not too far off. What I've got to do now is just pull out this. This piece here is fine. Just going to pull this out so that you can see where it's split. So I brought the top section out. Now we just need to kind of put a piece in here and lever this crease out here. We can check our bonnet gap as we go. getting closer. Obviously this wing is held down by this steel. Next bit of chiropractor adjustment is to separate these two further apart. Right, that's all the bolts off. I'm going to try and take this inner bumper off because I just can't correct that where it is. Okay, so that's not happening. Maybe it's just the fact it's bent. Like that. And this is the point where we can tell if it's really severe or just superficial, well, kind of secondary damage rather than the main structure, and it looks good. And I would say that these are still good. That looks like it's coming across at the same angle. So it's really this bracket here, which is just bent. What I want to do now is take off the headlight this side. That way I've got something, I can see the structure underneath to measure, take measurements and bend that back. Well, kind of worked. Right, I'm back on truck bending today, trying something a bit different. Before yesterday, I think it was, I managed to get everything off and bend a few bits. Now we're onto the sort of thicker steel. We're going to have to pull it another way. I tried it with the tractor, it just wasn't working. I'm going to try and more precisely just pull certain bits. So I'm kind of pulling across to the steel frame. It seems to be working. Now's going to be a good time to get a tape measure out, I think. So, at the widest part, 185. So, it's about 15 mil. This section here should definitely be vertical. And this also needs to be lifted a little bit as well. Alright, let's see how much it bounces back. It's an improvement. Alright, maybe it's time to whack some things now. 20 minutes to find the tool, but hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to try and jack it up now to get this corner same height as the other. Oh, it's certainly not been a quick one, this. It's just never ending. I think I've just made the best I can out of it. The issue is this would not push that way anymore. It must be part of the structural bit right in the corner there. And I've pulled it, I've winched it out, I've done everything I can. So this is what it's going to end up like. Just kind of a bit of a gap there. Whereas this side it's kind of just flush and neat to that shape. But when you stand back, it looks a damn sight better than it did. I'm so glad I didn't buy any parts. Thank you to everyone who just said get a headlamp, a headlight unit and bodge it all back together, because it's turned out fine. I had all the parts, what was that? Oh, I had all the parts saved in a eBay. You know, this was 50, that inner bumper steel section was 150. You know, it could have just got silly, so I think it's going to be just fine. I'd rather actually pay more attention to changing the oil and making sure that's all right, and cam belt and everything else is going to need doing. Haven't checked the filters yet, but it should be fine. Another worry was DPF. Turns out, well, as far as I can tell, there's no DPF on this model, not for 2009 at least. So we might be all right there, because as people were saying, the just irregular short runs around fields is, you know, a nightmare for that. There's bound to be screws I've missed, and these clips here, which it clips in to the bumper, I'm not going to be able to use, so I'm hoping I can thread a little cable tie through or something like that. One of the fog lights got smashed in whatever accident it had, so I took that out, pinched a load of the self-tapping screws, and I've used that to fix plastic to plastic back together again. It seems to be working. Really, I should have, whilst all this was off, I should have spray painted everything. So there was a bit of steel here, there and everywhere that I've had to bang, and it's probably scratched it a little bit. Right, how many spare bolts we got left? Quite a few. That's why I should watch my own videos back. So we need one in there. Still a little bit annoyed I can't get this trim back in on this corner. I can, you know, it's all, I can secure it with cable ties down the bottom, but there's just nothing for it to clip into. And because this, maybe I could have pulled it out a bit more, but maybe I'll have a quick go. Well, as long as we don't look too closely, I'd say that job's done. I think the bonnet is actually going to shut now and stay shut. We closed this up closer than it was. So it's the big reveal. Here we go. Yeah, that's not particularly clever, that bit, but I think it's going to be alright. It's not catching on anything. Well, I've got to go up and check the sheep anyway, so we'll take it for a test drive. See how it looks from a distance. Still should probably give it a clean. So here it is, out in the bright sunshine where I can't disguise anything. I mean, it being dirty helps. Oh, I'm not sure you'd think anything too much of it from a distance, would you? And this old beast, I think, will give us plenty of years of service. So what would I have done if I had to do all this all over again and buy in the same way? Well, I think I'd probably aim to buy a Cat N rather than a Cat S. That would be something that's purely structural, purely non-structural and just cosmetic. That way there's less unknowns, because hopefully it would just be skin deep rather than trying to, you know, unpick and see how bad it really is, which is what we had to deal with. But I think in the whole scheme of things, this could have been a lot worse if it had been the suspension and things out of line and the main chassis and the rails. You know, it could have been a big job. I think it's turned out all right. Apologies to anyone in the trade in the motor trade, because that was probably pretty criminal what I did, but it did the job just fine. Last but not least, our passenger door now opens. That dent is kind of knocked back out a little bit. I used that rawhide hammer, didn't mark it as much as anything else, and it had a bit of weight behind it, and pulling this wing forwards helped. So that opens without binding, but it has dropped a little bit. You can see here it's just ever so slightly low, although I'll tell you what, I wonder if a bit of a shunt might help. Hey. Well, it's better. Nothing's loose. Must have just bent out a little bit. Well, look, it's not going to leak, and we can have a passenger, so that's a win. Well, I guess we're kind of back where we began. Back up on the field, back sorting the sheep, but this time with a truck that's fixed-ish and a bit more shiny. Come on then, girls, let's celebrate with a treat. Now let me finish with a bit of a reminder on what we paid, what we did, and what we spent so far. So we won the truck at auction for $2,400 plus some fees. It was £110 to get it delivered. So I think by the time we'd added that to the £45, I think it was, that we spent on the headlight, plus some cable ties, we are somewhere in the region of £3,000. Now, some of you have already mentioned in the comments on a previous video about getting this back on the road and that it doesn't take anything more than an MOT. I think that is the case with a category N, which is just cosmetic. Because this was written off as a structural damage vehicle, I think from what I've read, it would need to have a DVLA check first. In theory, most of what was damaged was not cosmetic, but equally it wasn't full-on structural. It was just kind of the inner wing and things like that. So I'm sure that even though it's a little bit bent and not perfect, it might get through. However, we have no reason or need to get this on the road at the moment. And if it does go on the road, that only means more overheads, servicing, MOTs, insurance, and all that sort of stuff. We've also had a number of suggestions on modifications that we should do to the truck, and I don't think there is anything that pressing. My concern about having extra lights to put on the roof was that we would need a roof bar, and I don't think that's necessary. However, you can get LED light bars that go in your radiator grille, so as long as our little damaged radiator grille is up to it, that might be a good idea, just for being able to light up fields in the evening, because it does get dark pretty early, and if we're going out to check on the sheep or anything else around the fields, that might be useful because it's a little bit less directional than just using the headlights. As far as winches and things like that go, I have no ambitions for that, and we have enough other vehicles on the farm that I'm sure could help if we got this one in a sticky situation. And the only other final modification, which I've gone ahead and done, it's not really a modification but a purchase, is I managed to find an Eiffel Williams canopy that fits this, both this and the Mazda, which share the same body type, and I'm going to pick that up this week, I think. obviously I need to pick it up on a trailer because I can't drive this on the road, which is a shame. However, it was, I think, 80 or 90 pounds on eBay, only just down the road. I think that was a good result. If I was being particularly fussy, we need some really heavy duty cleaner on these wheels, but then again, the more we clean them, the more we'll see the peeling paint. So we might just leave those as they are because it won't be long before they're covered in mud again. Hopefully I can get my head around how to sort out filters and an oil change on this. And also the cam belt. A lot of people talked about this cam belt issue on these vehicles, so there's certainly a bit of learning to do on the job, but I might save that for a rainy day. So in the short term, we will be parking this project and moving on to that big blue elephant in the corner. We are really moving along with that now on the inside. I'm just a little bit behind on the videos, but stud walls are up, electrician's coming soon. So hopefully the inside of that is going to be radically different in the next week or two. Let me finish by saying a huge thank you to everyone for their advice on everything to date. We've got one final part of the jigsaw, which is this section here to go in, and I'm just going to do it with some self-tapping screws from the inside there, and I think that should hold it on tight enough because all of the clips on it were snapped off when we got it. But no missing parts and a minimal amount purchased. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.